So what you're looking for under the car is a little cutout in the plastic on the rocker panel. There's a little access spot here, and where these seams come together on the body of the car, that's where you want to put your jack. So I'm gonna slide my scissor jack under there, and I like to get it started by hand because it's easy to turn and you can kind of manipulate it till you get it right where you want it. See, like there, it's not the right spot. So back it off a little bit, slide it around, put it where you want it, and then as soon as you get it where you want it and you get some pressure on it, then we'll put the little spinny attachment hootie wampuses on there. It's always a good idea to break your lug nuts loose before you get it up in the air. The weight of the car on the wheel kind of helps hold it stable. If you get the car up in the air before you start breaking these loose, sometimes your wheel will just spin. So always break them loose on the ground. And you could probably do this with just a breaker bar or a ratchet or a tire iron, but I've got my impact, so we're going to do that. Just get them loose, don't take them off. Doesn't want to come off. Might be under some tension. There we go. I loosened up a couple of these too much, and so the wheel started to lean and it put that bottom one in a bind. So don't overdo it. If you're having trouble, maybe tighten a couple up and then try to back them off again. There we go. So you can do this with any kind of jack. I'm using the scissor jack out of my truck just because it was convenient and low profile, and with this little car it's not very hard. Scissor jacks kind of get a bad rap, but honestly this works perfectly fine for this. And I don't know if I don't even know if this car has a scissor jack or a jack in it. I don't think it does. The only reason I say that is because it didn't come with a spare tire. From the factory, this came with the 19-inch wheels with the run flat tires on it. So I guess the factory thought, well, if we give them big wheels, run flat tires, and a little trunk, what do they need a spare tire for? And since we don't have a spare, I don't think there's a jack in the car, and I'm not about to dig around in all that junk in my wife's trunk this early. So we're just going to use the scissor jack out of my truck. Floor jack will work. I don't think a bottle jack would work because this car kind of sits low to the ground, but So obviously for safety reasons, you always want to use jack stands where you can. Unfortunately, my jack stands are too low to even get under this thing, so I'm not going to be able to use them. But one good thing for extra safety, pull your handle out of your jack. That way you don't trip on it and fall down or knock your car off the jack. I saw somebody knock their car off their jack across the street the other day, and it was kind of scary, but they're okay. Alright, take the lug nuts the rest of the way off. So this was going to be a full brake job video. The only reason I'm making this video is because there's not one for this generation ATS. Well, I guess it's the only ATS on the internet right now. Simplicity Auto Works, Simplicity something, has a good video about the rear brakes, but not the front. So I decided, well, you know, anytime I have trouble finding a YouTube video online, I usually take that as an indicator that I need to make a video. Well, so that was the plan. I took off the fronts already, and a couple things. One, the brakes are great, like they're not even close to being worn out, and two, they are the upgraded Brembo brakes that I did not get the pads for. So I had the wrong pads, and the brakes are in great shape. So I'm just going to leave the fronts alone, and we're going to check out the backs now. So that's where we're at. Alright, reposition the camera so you can see a little bit better. What you need now is a 14mm wrench. You can use a socket wrench. I'm just going to use this little baby wrench because it was the first 14mm I found. Probably easier to use a longer one if you have one, but it works. So good rule of thumb, always wear your glove. This is kind of a dirty job. I mean, there's brake dust everywhere, but not just that. Lots of pinch points when doing stuff like this, so always a good idea to protect your hands. So take the bottom bolt off, leave the top one on. Really no reason to take it off, and it'll just rotate on that bolt like so. My grandpa taught me that. Okay, so here's your pads, and they just pop right out. Hopefully I got the right ones for the rear. These are a little bit more worn than the fronts. The fronts are also dual piston calipers. Like I said, they're Brembo, so they're a little bit of an upgrade. These are single piston calipers. What I mean by that is it's this round piston. There's just one of them. On an upgraded braking system, you'll find two pistons, and that just gives you better stopping ability. Okay. The rears are much more worn than the fronts, but they're still not bad. But as long as I got the right pads, we're going to go ahead and roll with it here. I got these Friction Masters D1659. I got these off Rock Auto. It was like $7, so they're pretty cheap. When you put these on, a couple things you want to pay attention to. Don't just grab the first ones you see and put them on there. They're sets, so you want to make sure you get See how look for these tabs, because these tabs are your wear indicators. When it gets worn down enough, the rotor, which is this round piece that spins, will grind into that, and it'll make a loud screeching sound. I guess they call them squealers in some places. So you need one of those on the back and one without the squealer on the front. So let's just match up our brakes and make sure we got the right ones here. Okay, also a pretty good indicator, or let me make sure you can see this. They're keyed a certain way to where you can only put them on. So see, like right here, these two are keyed correctly, but the squealer's on the wrong side. So I know that I need the other one. There we go, see that? So this one matches the old one. So this is the one that I'm going to use on this side. This one's going to go on the other side. The new ones also didn't come with new clips. Hardware these backing pieces, so I'm going to reuse those after I lube them up. Where's my other new one? I think these are the same. So we'll just put that back in the box. Some of you Yankees might be wondering, what in the hell is that thing underneath the car? Well, in God's country, that's known as a tornado shelter. I happen to reside in the tornado capital of the world, Moore, Oklahoma, and they just build these into the houses these days because, well, there's a monster tornado once every 2 or 3 years, so that's just the norm anymore. Alright, so to put these back in, pretty easy. We're going to take your Sig juice, Silence is Golden juice, and we are going to apply it to the contact surfaces of the pads. And you don't get a lot of this, so don't go hog wild all on one. So we're going to do it to both surfaces. And I'm not going to go all the way yet because we still need to squeeze our pistons. I'm just going to get this done and out of the way. One thing to pay attention to is which side of your rotor had the squealer pad. I think the squealer pad goes on the inside because, yeah, that's right. The first one I pulled off didn't have it. So now to go on the inside, but before we do that, we want to push that piston back in. And there are so many different ways to do this. And I'm just going to show you one of them. I've never used a tool like this one before. It comes in a full kit. Like this. And I'll be honest, I don't like it. I experimented with it on the front wheel, or the front caliper, and it kind of sucks. But we'll try it again on this side, or on the back. Maybe it'll be a little better. Okay, so the idea is that you position this plate and this threaded rod in your caliper, and then you turn the handle and it expands and it depresses the piston. So this is a piston depressor, not to be confused with a spouse, a depressor. that was a bad one, sorry. It's Mother's Day tomorrow. I should probably be nice. Then again, my wife doesn't watch my videos, so she will never know. Okay, so get that in there, and then you twist it like this. Twisting it the wrong way. I got the reverse threaded one, of course. Like I said, this thing kind of sucks. But I'm gonna give it a shot. They make much simpler ones that are just that don't have like all these components. You literally just put it in there and turn it, and that's really what I should have got. But I thought, well, there it goes. Well, I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to get a new tool. Well, I'll probably never use this again because I don't like it. But it effectively pushed that in, so we're good there. All right, next, so we'll slide these pads back in. Like I said, squealer goes in the back. And it's not really keyed, but there's these little grooves that you just push them back into. And it's as easy as that. So you can kind of see it on this side. So these tabs on the top and bottom, they just slide in from the inside and outside right into these metal retainers. Just like that. So now, why is that bolt so loose? Huh. Now if you depress the piston enough, it'll just slide right on. Now, so you'll see the whole purpose of the squeezing that piston is because as your brakes wear down over time, that piston extends as your pads wear out and as it squeezes on your rotor. So when you take these old pads out, your piston is still, you know, 1/8 of an inch closer to your rotor, and then when you get new beefier pads, they won't fit in there, so you have to squeeze that piston back in to make room. Ah, nuts. Oh man. My little backing plate fell off, and then I got dirt in it. Okay, so that's the outside. This is the inside face. Get all that debris off there, and let's try to reapply this. I can't see. Where did it go? Oh, got it. Nice. Okay, so okay. Sorry about that, guys. My my other phone keeps crapping out on me, so now I'm using my backup phone, and if the image quality on this segment is worse than the rest, it's because it compressed during file transfer, blah blah blah. Sorry, my stuff hates me. Okay, so anyway, my phone crapped out on me on the other side before I got to the end, and so I'm gonna do this side again and show you guys in a little more detail. You can see a little bit better, hopefully. So I've got the old pads out on this side. I've got the new pads prepped and ready. I've got the caliper piston depressed. And if you guys don't have a caliper piston depressing tool, you have a few options. You can rent them from auto parts stores. You can improvise. Back in my NASCAR days, I used to use a big C-clamp and a block of wood. So you can put a block of wood in here and a C-clamp, and you can twist it, and it'll do the same thing. You just need to be careful because there are some pieces and brake lines and stuff back here you don't want to break if you're not sure where you're pinching it from. So there's a lot of options. The tool, they make a really simple tool that I should have got. It was like $7 on Amazon. So I would get one of those. So now we'll just slide the new pads in, just like on the other side. Sorry, my head's in the way on this one. Okay, just like that. And this one you can probably see a little bit better. Line the tabs up, and these metal clips. And what will happen if you don't have your piston squeezed in enough, you'll never get this caliper to slide back over these new thicker pads. So we'll see if I got it. Looks like I didn't get it squeezed enough. Oh, yeah, I did. Just barely. I had to muscle it on there. Or my interpretation of that anyway. Okay. So once you get that on there, remember you've got your top caliper bolt in there. Still, it stayed in there, it's just loose. And the bottom one. Now, really, you want to get these torqued to spec. I don't have my torque wrench here, which is kind of the story of my life. I've got half my tools at the castle grounds and half of them here in the garage, and so I never seem to have exactly what I need. But that's how it goes, I guess. So I won't be able to torque these to spec, but I will be able to put little 14mm end wrench arm strength foot-pounds on it. And so I think it'll be all right. Disclaimer, if you do what I do and your brakes come off and you hurt yourself or someone else, I am not responsible, as I am not a trained professional, even if I act like I am sometimes. Okay, put the wheel back on. Unfortunately, I don't think this is going to fix the problem. I thought the brakes were probably worn out because I rode with my wife somewhere the other day and it was making a kind of a nasty grinding sound. And since my wife drives around town like she's Princess Peach in Mario Kart, I thought, well, this car's got 80,000 miles on it. It's got to be ready for brakes. Well, when I just flipped the car around, I noticed that it's still making a slight grinding, and I don't know if, because I don't ride in this car frequently, if I am just not used to it. You know, put a lot of miles on my Cadillac of trucks, and everything's so smooth and new and nice. And then I got in this, and I could feel and hear it grinding. I thought, well, it's probably the brakes. It's got 80-something thousand miles on it. You see the brake dust all over these things. I mean, gotta be worn out. Well, they're not. So, might be something else. So if anybody has any ideas as to what it could be, weird grinding at 80,000 miles on an ATS 2014 model, please share your thoughts, because I'm kind of scared. All right, and just like everybody knows, once you kind of get these started, you want to hit these with the star pattern. So I'll probably mute the volume now. Come on, baby. All right, so it started off as a full brake job, turned into a front inspection and rear brake job. So I'm gonna go over the tools you need. Obviously a jack, some sort of wheel chock. I just use some blocks of wood. Some sort of lug nut removing device. You can either use a tire iron if it fits your vehicle, or an impact, or a breaker bar with a deep socket. A 14 millimeter. This is going to release your caliper bolts on the back and the front if you don't have the Brembo set up. Flathead screwdriver. Definitely need gloves. And here's the brakes I used for the back. Where are we at? From Rock Auto. And here are the ones I got for the front for the non-Brembo system. If you're watching this and you need the front brake pads, this one, comment or leave me a message or send me a message and I'll just ship them to you. They don't cost much, but I don't need them. I'm just gonna throw them away or give them to somebody else. So all in all, very simple install. If you got all the tools handy, it'll probably take you about 30 minutes to do the rears, maybe another 30 to do the front. So I would say 2 hours tops, beginning to end. Took it on a test drive, brakes worked good. Didn't fix my grinding, but brakes are good. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.